Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new I Do Work Here stories, shall we?
The first story is called Anything But a Student. I used to manage a uni camera facility a few years ago. I look very young for my age, and my department had a relaxed dress code, so I often got mistaken for a student, although always wearing my staff ID. I had had a busy morning booking out cameras, sound, and lighting for a first-year workshop. The students had to be trained on the kit before they could hire equipment independently, so a lecturer had booked the kit out that morning. At this point in the year, the students hadn't come into the camera facility and didn't know who the staff was. As part of their workshop, the students were told to make a short film around the uni building. I get a phone call from someone in the building, complaining that a group is blocking a fire exit and being a general nuisance. I'm not running the workshop, but I figure I'll go and have a word with the students. I find them pretty easily: camera bags all over the floor, cables everywhere, lights without weights, being a nuisance to people just trying to get past. It's an accident waiting to happen. I approach warmly, with the intention of showing them how to safely set up a shoot. Hey guys, you know this is a big trip hazard, and you're blocking a fire exit? Their leader looks me up and down, clearly thinking I'm just a student, and scoffs, "It's fine." I said, "No, it's not. You need to move this equipment now." The group starts tittering at me, thinking I'm some busybody student. The leader said, "We'll move when we're finished." By this point, my blood is starting to rise, and I abruptly ask them who they are and who their lecturer is. I know who it is, but I want to see what their response is. He said, "You don't need to know." So I said, "Okay, well, judging by the fact you have Canon 5Ds, I know you're first-year film students." I can see they're starting to get a bit uncomfortable, and one has finally noticed my staff badge. I said, "And I know lecturer A is teaching a workshop right now. I can see from the label on your camera you have camera number 6, so I'll phone him now and find out what group has the camera." I then walk back to my desk and phone security to move him on. Security comes to see me afterward and tells me the group had given them a bad attitude too. Afterward, I phone the lecturer and explain the situation to him. "No worries, leave it with me." An hour later, and it's the end of the workshop. The lecturer decides to give his class an impromptu induction to the camera facility. Enter 20 students, including the group with the crappy attitude. They see me and suddenly get a huge shock on their faces. The lecturer launches into a long speech about how we were the gatekeepers to the equipment and the most important people in helping them get their degrees. He really laid it on thick, saying they really didn't want to get on our wrong side, and I could see the beads of sweat dripping from the crappy group's foreheads. Part of their assessment marks was given for professionalism. I and the lecturer agreed that if they came to me independently and apologized, I would let him know and they wouldn't be marked down for conduct. We would chalk their attitude up to overzealousness. But they never did, so they scored 0% for professionalism for that unit. It was explained to them clearly what they had done to get that score, and what they could have done to remedy it. They never contested it, and luckily for them, first-year scores didn't really count towards anything important, but I like to think they got a sharp life lesson in how to talk to people. For the rest of the uni years that they came to the facility, they always had a very meek attitude. And I always made sure one of their batteries was flat. The next story is called I Know the Owner. Of all of the businesses that my father owns, the only one that I have ever gotten free service from is the drive-up coffee shop. I have always been allowed to stroll on in and pour myself a drip coffee whenever I want. If I wanted something fancy, I would have to pay, but I rarely if ever did this. Well, shortly after coming back to my hometown, I stopped by to grab a cup. As usual, I walked through the door in the back to bypass the line and serve myself. The second I walked in, I hear, "What are you doing? You can't be in here. Get out." The girl working was not here the last time I had visited at the end of last summer, and I realized that it must be pretty shocking to have some random guy walk into the small shack you work in. I tried to explain that my father owns the shop and that I was just coming in to grab a cup before I was on my way. She was flustered and just kept telling me to get out. So I went to my car, pulled around in line, and waited my turn. When I got to the window, she saw me and was angry, telling me that she was not going to serve me. I again took the chance to explain that my father owned the shop and that I am sorry that I startled her. She told me that she knows Pastor Father because she goes to his church, and she knows his son, and that was not me. I had recently come out as an atheist, so I did not go to my father's church anymore and had not met her, but my brother did. She told me she would call the cops if I didn't leave and that I was not welcome at the shop ever again. So I drove off, called my dad, and asked if he would want to meet for a cup of coffee soon, and he agreed. The look on her face when I showed with my dad at the walk-up counter and he introduced the two of us was fantastic. I hadn't told my dad what had happened an hour ago, but I explained then and he thought it was the funniest thing. I did not have any issues after that, but made sure to come to the window if there was someone working who I did not recognize in the future to avoid such a situation. The third story is called An Experience You Do Not Need. I used to work IT for a hospital campus, and one fine day, I was tasked with troubleshooting why an entire building's network kept dropping out randomly. For those fortunate folks who don't work in IT, a bit of background. Network closets in buildings with large campuses are where wild dust bunnies go to die and mate. You can also find many varieties of critters like cockroaches and sometimes rats if the closet you're servicing happens to be in the city. In a nutshell, the rooms are absolutely disgustingly filthy. My task today was to go play in one and figure out why the network hamsters were on strike, but only for this old building and only sometimes. Whoever was in charge of maintenance for this closet got an F, hands down. Turns out a data entry mistake left this closet outside anyone's area of responsibility. Upon further investigation, the last time someone had gone in to clean or maintain was about 12 years previous. The switch the whole building ran through had a couple of fans in it, and those fans didn't spin. The reason they didn't spin? There was dust and gunk all up in there. Much to my surprise, the motors hadn't actually burned themselves out because after a vigorous bout of percussive maintenance, I hit it with the handle of my screwdriver, the fans got unstuck. And they started spinning, and sprayed all that ick into my face, which was very close to the fan. I recoiled out of the closet because that's so gross, and I probably fixed it anyway. I slammed the door shut and started looking for a bathroom because I had junk in my eyes and I felt disgusting. Only I've never been in this building before, and now I'm starting to have trouble seeing details because eyes full of dust are not good for visual acuity. That's when I thought I saw my savior. There was a scrub-colored blur in the distance with an ID badge. Whoever this person was must be working for the hospital. They'll know where a sink is. Once this person got close enough for a reasonable conversation, she was also close enough for me to actually see, and she was very pretty. Derail my train of thought and leave me briefly slack-jawed pretty. I'm pretty sure I said something witty like, "Excuse me." She just goes, "I have a boyfriend," and keeps walking. Now, I understand that she probably needs to use a barge pole to fend off undesired male attention, but I'm not trying to hit on her, I just really need a bathroom. My mouth opens up and words fall out before I can stop myself, and I hear someone with my voice say, "Yeah? Give him my condolences." She bangs a 180 and, I'm assuming, has a super nasty look on her face and starts stalking towards me. "Excuse me? I work here too, and I really need to find a bathroom." As I say this, I indicate my dust-coated person with a vague hand gesture. It was at this point she redeemed herself as an actual human being because it was her turn to say something pithy. Holy heck. She grabs my hand and pulls out her cell phone, and I'm trying to disengage because I don't want to get her dirty too, telling her I'll be fine, I just need to rinse my eyes out. She does not let me escape and tells me to shut up, and then I hear her telling someone on the phone that she needs a stretcher out front of the building because an IT guy has a face full of asbestos, and yes, the dust is in his eyes. Getting that sorted was not much fun at all, but the only reason I didn't get my vision permanently impaired was that I was one building over from a level 1 trauma center, and a quick-thinking nurse didn't let me try and wash my eyes out in a sink. Life pro tip: asbestos dust in your eyes is an experience you can live a complete and fulfilling life without ever experiencing. The last story is called Good Job. I've been a shift manager for a drugstore chain for over a decade. Quite often I get calls from other stores for advice. One day I'm working my shift when a shift manager from another store calls my store in a panic. We'll call that person Mary. Mary said, "There's this woman in the office asking for me to open the safe. She claims she's the district loss prevention supervisor. I don't know what to do. Should I call the police?" I asked her, "What's her name?" And Mary said, "Jane Smith." So I said, "That's her name. Does it look like her?" Mary said, "I don't know. I've never seen her before." So I asked her to describe her. Mary said, "A woman, 5 feet 6 inches. In her 50s. Grey hair in a bun." So I told her, "That's how Jane looks." Mary said, "I still don't know what to do." So I said, "Ask her the name of her dog and 3 kids. Casper, Bobby, Tim, and Joy." So I told her, "It's Jane. Have her talk to me." Jane said, "Hey, thanks for clearing things up." I said, "No problem," and we have a 2-minute conversation about personal life happenings. Then Jane said, "I'm going to put the phone on speaker." Jane said on speaker, "Mary, I commend you for doing your due diligence and verifying who I was before opening the safe. I know you won't open the safe to just anyone. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.